What's up, everybody? It's your boy Davon Nelson. I'm here with Mr. Eddie Bales. We are going to talk about entrepreneurship, the importance of it. Um, like I say, this is a podcast to help entrepreneurs connect with their audience. Mr. Eddie Bales, how you doing this morning?
I'm incredible. How about yourself, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to meet with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so we're gonna dive into it. We don't want to keep the people waiting. Let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm from Buffalo. Well, first off, my name is Eddie Bales. I'm from Buffalo, New York, but I live in Greenville, South Carolina now. We've been here for about 12 years, and I'm married to my beautiful wife, Vanessa. We've been married for 13 years. We raised our nephew, who is 11, and we've been fortunate to, start a business when we were in college, and that business turned into it was just for extra income at that point. But then it turned into a full-time income. And now we spend a lot of our time helping other people to do the same thing on a regular basis. So definitely excited about what we're doing and how we're helping people and how we're adding back to the community, and looking forward to continue to grow.
Awesome, awesome. So, everybody has different inspirations to why they start businesses, especially on the entrepreneur side. Some people they start out doing this and then they really find their niche. And it's okay to dig through the mud a little bit to have to find your niche. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur and start your own business?
Well, I believe I was always entrepreneurial. I actually started working at the age of 14. And really that was because I was tired of, I was able to buy my own stuff. I wanted to be able to get what I wanted to get because, I had several siblings, and, sometimes nothing wrong with the clearance rack, but, I got teased a little bit in school when I wasn't able to get the cool stuff, right? So I said, look, I'm gonna get my own job. I'm gonna get my own money. I'm gonna buy whatever I want to buy. And that I felt so liberated at that point because I was like able to get some of the things that I wanted to get. So from there, at that point, I was like, man, I don't like this. I like having my own money, but I don't like this whole 9 to 5 thing, right? Because I'm
Right.
working harder than everybody, and they're not paying me a whole lot. Right? So I was like, look, I see how they're moving though. I worked at a wholesale company, and they were
Mhm.
buying stuff wholesale and then selling it retail. So it literally, I'm seeing them uh, buy the wholesale candies and the wholesale stuff, just like a Sam's, but it was like a mom and pop type of Sam's. And then I'm
Oh,
seeing them selling it to the people who were reselling it at the corner store right down the street. I'm like, wait a minute, you just got this from here and you charged them this much? Like, so I was like, okay, I could do the same thing. So I started doing it in school. Right. So I started selling candy in school. That was kind of like my first, so to speak, business, I guess you would call it. I was buying and selling wholesale, buying and selling in school. But I always had the entrepreneurial bug. I always wanted, something more. But I just didn't have mentorship, guidance, or coaching. And so once I got into college, I was able to finally find that, and the rest has been history. So we've been entrepreneurs ever since.
man, that's awesome. It's funny you say that. It was times when I was like 6 years old and I would want money. So I would go ask my grandma, ask my mom, and then I messed around and asked my granddad one day, and he didn't give it to me. He didn't give me money. He gave me opportunity. I was allowed to work in one of his stores running the cash register at 6 years old. And so, I started to see, I got introduced to entrepreneurship then. So I was like, I like this. You know what I'm saying? Like I get to do, I get to move how I want to move. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of like a moment that helped shape my entrepreneurial side. Can you share with us a pivotal moment or experience that helped shape your entrepreneurial experience?
Man, I had so many. It's hard to pick one. Uh, but if I were to guess, if I were to think, I would probably say um, just some of the challenges that I faced. Um, you know, I had some several. I'll just give you one example. I had a point where I was on my way to an appointment, and I was driving this car that was kind of broke down. And let me give you the backstory. I was renting a room at that point. I was renting a room, because I couldn't afford an actual apartment. I didn't have the down payment and first month and all that. So I was renting a room and I couldn't sometimes even afford that because, entrepreneurship doesn't just go like that. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down, right? So I was in those valley seasons, and I couldn't always afford the rent. But I had to keep on pressing. So there was a time where I was coming home. At this point, I did have a job, but I was building my business part time, trying to ramp it up. And I was coming home from work, but I had some appointments because I kind of looked at it like I'm Superman, Clark Kent during the day and Superman at night. So during the day I was working my job, and then at night I'm putting my cape on and I'm going out there to do my thing. So on the way there, though, to the appointment that I had, I my car started smoking. So I had to pull over. And all of a sudden the fire truck come and the police come. And this
Oh,
was in New York. And I'm trying to give you the short version of the story, but in New York you had to have an inspection sticker. Right? And if the inspection sticker was up, you had to, you got tickets and a lot of bad stuff could happen. But if you don't, basically you have to get your car fixed and maintenance and stuff. And I had so much stuff wrong with my car, I just couldn't afford to get it fixed. So I was just kind of riding dirty, so to speak. So my inspection sticker was up for like a long time, right? So the police officers come and making sure everything's okay. I'm trying to hide so he doesn't see the inspection sticker. The fire truck is trying to take care of the car and stuff. And all that's on my mind is I gotta go. I got an appointment, right? So I'm trying to get to my appointment. So I call somebody to come pick me up. I had them get a tow truck, and take the car, back to the apartment. And I move on to I get to my appointment, and I go make it happen. And we're getting people signed up and protected and stuff like that. But those are the defining moments of just knowing that, like, when all these obstacles come, that I can keep pressing through, and that I could make it happen on the other side. You know what I mean? And not too long after that, I was able to, really build and get to a position where I was able to get a better car, and things started to kind of look up at that point.
Man, that's awesome. And this is what I like about this platform, because, like I said, a lot of people have a misconception about entrepreneurship. Just like you said, they look at it, and oftentimes they come in on the back end of the story, and it seems like it's going like this. But in all actuality, it's been years of sacrifice. It's been a lot of growth, a lot of setbacks, so to speak, and learning lessons. So how do you prioritize setting goals for your business to ensure growth and success?
Yeah, so setting goals is extremely important. A lot of people set resolutions in the beginning of the year, and you know how it goes. By the third week of January, they kind of stop even going for those goals, if they even had goals in the first place. But me personally, I think because I'm around a community of people who are setting goals, it keeps me on track of my goals. But also, I'm very ambitious. I'm always a goal-driven person. Like, it's always the next thing, right? So it's never just you just arrive and then that's it. My mentor says you're either growing or dying. There is no in between. So if we're not stretching ourselves and growing, it's like a rubber band. If the rubber band stops stretching, it loses its elasticity, right? And so then again, eventually that rubber band doesn't work anymore. So if you want to keep on working, you got to constantly be stretching yourself. So I'm always having goals. I'm always going for the next thing. And really, to me, my goal is to get to a point and to continue to be at a point where it's not so much about income, but it's about impact, right? It's about leaving a legacy. It's about how many people have you served. It's about how much value have you given into the marketplace. That's the big focus right there. So I'm always setting measurements and checkpoints and goals. Not so much for me to say I did that, but for me to say how much have I done and how have I helped somebody else, if that makes sense.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When a lot of people start off in entrepreneurship, a lot of people start with the end result in mind, which nothing is wrong with that. That's cool. That's oftentimes your why, and it helps you get started. But what a lot of people don't account for is those in between challenges. And because they haven't planned for the challenge, when the challenge come up, it tends to cause them to set back or step back. And like you said, they set a resolution, they feeling good December 31st, then January 3rd, that alarm clock go off, they hitting snooze. You know what I'm saying? So what challenges have you faced as an entrepreneur and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge I've ever faced is me, right? I always say the enemy is the enemy, right? So
Right.
I would say once you defeat the enemy on the inside, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. So I had to fight a lot of my own struggles, my own challenges, having the confidence. I was a shy, introverted type of person. So that's what I told myself. Then I decided I could tell myself I could be whatever I want to be. I don't have to be this shy, introverted person, because closed mouths don't get fed, and I want to eat. You know what I mean? So I started to have to overcome. You think about the butterfly in the cocoon. The butterfly, the caterpillar. I mean, the caterpillar can't stay a caterpillar. It needs to evolve, right? And so that was me. I needed to evolve into the person that I needed to be, not the person that I was. And that's the biggest challenge that I had because it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable, going through that caterpillar phase and trying to get the strength and the growth to start to build those beautiful wings. It's a struggle, right? Because you're becoming a different version of yourself, and that's not always easy. So those are some of the challenges that I've had to face. Is just making sure that I kept my confidence and my belief and my attitude and through all the adversity, all the ups and downs, you take 2, 3 steps forward and then you take 5 steps backward and just going back and forth with all those things and just continue to keep the belief that I could make it happen and I can do it.
Absolutely, man. Um, a lot of times when we get started in certain things, um, we tend to stay like this, right? Stay on the same playing field. We like, oh, we did this at this time and it worked. So let me keep trying this, keep trying this. One thing I've learned is being innovative and adaptation is like some of the main keys to survival or even growth. So how do you stay innovative and adapt to the changing market trends in your industry?
Yeah, you got to evolve. There's this book called Who Moved My Cheese? And when the cheese is moved, you got to move with it. Otherwise, you're going to starve. So, even like social media, I wasn't as big on social media as I've done now, but I had to evolve because social media evolved, right? So those are just things that I've had to do is to just make sure that I'm staying on with not so much the trends, so to speak, but just adapting, just adapting because um, things change all the time and we can't stay the same. We can't stay stagnant. So those are just a couple of things that I've done. I've used social media heavily to really build my business and use technology and use resources and things like that to really help me.
Absolutely. When we was out in Arizona and I got into doing real estate, it was I think it's a Chinese proverb that said, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. And that when I first started out, that didn't click with me what that really meant until I started understanding the power of mentorship. You know what I'm saying? Like just like when Kobe first came into the league, he was trying to bring the high school into the NBA, and then he switched his mindset and he started studying, being a student of success, which he started studying Jordan. Of course, he studied a lot of the other greats, but he started studying Jordan. So what role has mentorship played in your entrepreneurial success?
Man, that's a big one. That's really what drove me in entrepreneurship because I didn't have mentors and coaches in the beginning. Well, before entrepreneurship, before this endeavor that I'm with now. So when I got involved, I had a ton of mentors and coaches, right? So that really shaped me because then I had people I could bounce things off of and say, hey, what can I improve here? What can I do better here? What do I need to do to get to where you are, right? So I was able to have an example, but also have someone that I can speak with on a regular basis, several people that can help coach me and mentor me. So you got to have mentors and coaches. And one thing I want to say to that is when you do have mentors and coaches, listen to what they say, right? Because I can't tell you how many people that want coaching, but when you give them coaching, they don't do what you actually tell them to do. And you already have the blueprint. You already have, done what they're looking to do, but they don't want to follow the advice. So I'm willing to be, coachable.
Mm.
And whatever a mentor wants to tell me to do, even if it's outside of my comfort zone, I'm willing because I know that they have the success that I want, and all I gotta do is follow what they do. If you do what they do, you can get what they got.
That's awesome, and that's true. That's one thing that I had to learn the hard way. It was almost like I was throwing rocks out there in front of my steps and going to trip over them same rocks I threw out there until I found a mentor and said, "Hey, you can go this way." Oh, I ain't know that way exists. So I let me listen and go this way. So I learned. Y'all listen to me. I learned the hard way. Learn from me. Don't listen to what your coach say. It'll save you a ton of time. Trust me. Um, you mentioned in the beginning that you've been married 13 years, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So adding in marriage with being an entrepreneur, that's another whole, that's another whole mountain within itself. But in order to be married for 13 years, that's a milestone within itself, especially being an entrepreneur. So how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance while managing a successful business?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question. And first thing is I believe there is no balance. Everyone's looking for balance, but there's only priorities, right? So
Right.
my family is my first priority. Um, you know, so I have to make sure that I prioritize certain things. So one of the things that I like to do is schedule my life and then schedule my business around my life, right? Now, does it always work out perfectly? No, right? Sometimes there are seasons and sometimes there are moments and things where things just happen, right? But ideally, that's the goal. Is if you think about like, a jar and you got the big rocks and the little rocks, you put the big rocks in first, right? And those are the first priorities so that you can fit some of the little rocks and you can get a nice full jar. So my point, just to answer your question, is just that it is challenging, right? Because it's like your marriage is a partnership, kind of like a business has partnerships, right? So you have two separate entities, so to speak, and we're trying to put them together, merge them, and we both got different things going on. But the goal is just to make sure that it's the priority, it's the focus, it's the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. So that's one of my ways that I like to do that is schedule your family and then schedule your business around your life. Like I said, it doesn't always work out perfectly, but that's always the goal of how I'm looking to really do it.
That's awesome. I think that's vital, especially to the ones that's just starting out. When you first started, like y'all watching this, understand that you will have seasons where it may seem like you're gaining momentum and then all of a sudden things will slow down. Make sure you invest more time into your foundation, which is your marriage. Your marriage is the foundation, and you build on top of that. Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Like you go out there, you like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then all of a sudden life say, okay, boom, now you done lost a loved one, boom, or now you gotta face these different trials. How do you stay motivated and resilient in the face of setbacks and obstacles?
Yeah, well, a couple things. Number one is having the right um, way of thinking when it comes to obstacles and perceived failures, right? Because I always tell people like if I were to give you an example, this right here is success, and this is failure. This is how most people see it. Failure is over there, and success is over there. But really, failure is on the way to success, right? So you can't, it's
Exactly.
not on the opposite end of the spectrum. You have to go through a lot of failure to get to success. So show me somebody who's never failed. I'll show you somebody who's never succeeded, right? So
Exactly.
the people who succeeded the most have had the most failures. So that's the key is number one, knowing that failure, you never really fail until you quit, right? So as long as you stay in the game, you haven't really failed. You're just learning how to do things better, right?
Mhm.
So you constantly are learning. So that's number one, is just having the right way of looking at what's perceived failure. But once you understand that, the way I stay motivated is I have a really, really strong why.
Mhm.
And I coach a lot of people on this because you got to have clarity on why are you doing what you're doing? What's the
Mhm.
end goal? What are you looking to accomplish and why do you want it? Is it something that your mama wanted or your daddy wanted, or do you really want this? Because sometimes we're doing things that we don't even really want to do. We just think it's cool or someone else thinks we should do it, right? So
Right.
we got to know why we're doing it. We got to be in love with it, and we have to have the passion and the motivation and the why. Let me just say this: we tell people to we ask why oftentimes 7 times, because a lot of times you ask why. Oh, I just want to make extra money, or I just want to have the life, right? Well, why do you want the money? Why do you want the life? What are you going to do when you get the money? You know, what do you want your life to actually look like? Like, give me a picture with clarity of what you want it to look like. So when you ask why 7 times, you get to the root of what someone really wants. And I
Mhm.
call it peeling back the onion layers of someone's why. So I've done that for even myself. And my why is so strong, there's nothing that can get in the way. I'm like the ant. You know how if you have an ant and it's something in its way, it will go around it, right? If you've ever watched how ants go, and even the Bible talks about the diligence of an ant,
Mhm.
So the thing is, when you have a really, really strong why, it's easy to stay motivated because you got your eye on the prize. Obstacles are what you see when you take your eyes off the prize. As long as you keep your eye on the prize and you know why you're doing it, then you'll stay motivated to do what you need to do. And I would even suggest having pictures and writing it down every single day so you can keep it top of mind.
Absolutely. It's funny you said I'm sitting in my office now, literally off to this side right here. I got a vision board. Right here behind the camera, I got pictures, and at the top, I got my family. Keeping
Yeah,
in mind that it's not about me, it's about them. And everything I do is to leave a legacy for my boys,
yeah.
for my family. So I agree with that 100%. Having something you can see, don't just. I've spoken to a lot of people, and I'm like, well, have you written that down? No, I got it in my mind. I don't say nothing. I let them go out and see, because life will hit you hard enough that you ain't gonna think about what's in your mind. You're gonna
Right.
try to think about how can I get out of this?
Right.
It kind of leads me into my next question, because so many people sit back and see other people doing stuff in business and stuff, and they teeter totter. They be on the seesaw, like, should I do this? What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to start their own business?
The biggest advice I would give is to first work on you, because when you get better, everything around you gets better. That's the most important thing. If you have a tree, let's just say there's a tree, and the tree is your why, what you're looking to accomplish, but you have a dull axe, it's going to take you a long time to chop that tree down, right? But if you sharpen that axe, you're going to chop the tree down so much faster because you've been sharpening the axe. So, how do you sharpen the axe? It's constantly pouring into yourself, constantly working on you, and that looks like reading books, listening to audios, turning music off sometimes, and let's put something that can pour into ourselves so that we can be better for our team, for our family, for our community, for our clients. Right? When you show up better, then you're more attractive. You're creating more value because you're more valuable. Right? So there's people who could charge a certain price because of the value that they bring that other people don't necessarily have. So when you become that person, you're able to command the reward because of the value that you poured into yourself. So that's the most important thing I would say is work harder on you than you do on your actual business or your career. Once you get better, everything around you gets better. Then the next thing I would just say is take massive action, 10x, right? Like, you got to take enough action to get through the birds, the thorns, and the rocks, right? You got to get through all of that just to get to the good ground. But oftentimes people don't take enough action because they stop when the birds come. As soon as the birds come, they're like, oh my God, it's not going to work. I can't do this, right? But you got to get past the birds just to know that there's something else coming too. There's stones are coming, the stony ground. And then, of course, you're going to have the thorns coming as well to choke it. So my point is just that we have to get past all of that just to make it to the good ground. And then, of course, even when we get to the good ground, it doesn't stop there because then you got 30, 60, and 100-fold, right? So just because you're on the good ground doesn't mean that everything is just go straight up, right? You gotta mold that ground and till it and fertilize it and continue to build and stuff like that. So continue to plant those seeds. So that's just what I would say is number one, work on yourself. Number two, 10x massive action. It's got to be all out massive action.
Awesome. Facts. Um, right now, me and my wife, we jumped into the journey of growing, like some of our own vegetables, and stuff like that. You got some lemon, like I planted some lemon seeds. Lemons, I've read, takes, I think, around 7 years before they even harvest. And it just takes a while for the roots. The roots got to go deep in the environment and all that stuff. Then we got cucumbers and squashes and everything. That's just we planted it, and about 3 weeks now they sprouting up. We haven't harvested anything, but we've been cultivating, we've been watering, we've been giving it sunlight, doing everything to help it grow. Um, so that leads me to say entrepreneurship is a journey, it's not a sprint. So it's a lifelong journey. When you commit to it, you forever growing, like you said, you forever learning, you forever, going through the motions, the ups and downs, the valleys, and all that good stuff. So what lessons have you learned from the mistakes you've made in your entrepreneurial journey?
I've learned that you can't work with everybody the same. The same. You have to work with people differently because, like you just said, oftentimes you have different seeds, and each seed that's different, you have to work with it in a different way. So I've learned leadership lessons of how to work with people, how to develop people, how to grow people. That's a big lesson in and of itself. Knowing where to spend your time because you can't work with everyone the same. You have the 80-20. You have 80% of people who do 20% of the work, and you have 20% who do 80% of the work. So you have to work with the 20%ers way different than you work with the 80%ers, right? So those are just lessons that I've learned just from over time. Not treating everyone the same, not giving everyone the right expectation, but just understanding that I can kind of work with people where they're at, but I can also build and grow and develop people in that way. So that's one of the big lessons that I've learned.
That's awesome. I remember, not too long ago, I was sitting down with my boys watching the Ninja Turtles movie, and it's like Master Splinter was super harder on Leonardo because he basically called him to be the leader. And that's one thing that Leonardo had to learn was he can't work with Raphael how he worked with Michelangelo because of the different personalities. And so once he caught that concept, they can all gel together as a team because he understood like, well, even to their weapons. I can't swing a sword the way I swing nunchucks. You know what I'm saying? So just that's something that I've learned as a leader as well, especially by myself. I have to understand where I'm strong at. If I work where I'm strong at, oh, we good. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is with entrepreneurship, networking is a big key, relationship, building solid relationships. How do you approach networking and building professional relationships as an entrepreneur?
Crazy. I network every single day, right? If you're not networking, you're not in business because you got to have relationships. Our business is relationships. So you're building relationships with clients, you're building relationships with potential clients, you're building relationships with your team members. So you got to constantly be networking. And like I said in the beginning, that's why I struggled a little bit because I was not the best networker because I was not the type of person like where I grew up. We just did one of these, right? Right. So we didn't speak a whole lot. It was like, hey, we all knew what that meant, right? Like, what's up, right? But I realized, like I said, closed mouths don't get fed, and I had to open my mouth and start to learn how to network with people, how to make friends, how to build and grow. So I'm networking every single day, constantly talking to people that I don't know, because people that I don't know are the people that I'm going to be serving. And so that's the key. It's all about serving. But networking is huge. You're one person away from a breakthrough. That's how I look at it. Like there's one person that can change your entire life. And I've seen it happen even in my own life where this person led to that person who led to this person who led to that person. And that person was the person that really just took things by storm. And that's what really kind of helped me to know that I have to continue to network. I have to continue to focus on expanding my reach and expanding my relationships and expanding my circle. So networking is extremely important.
That's awesome. When I first got into real estate, especially out there in Arizona, I mean, they have what they call the real estate meetups all over the place. Yeah. And me, like you, I think we mentioned earlier, about being your own enemy. And that was one of the things that would hold me back. I was like, oh God, I got to go out here and talk to these strangers. I didn't know what to say, how to say, but then I understood like, well, just get in the room. Sometimes you can just get in the room and don't say anything. You ain't always got to talk. You can soak up more information, honestly, if you just get in a room and just listen. And once I understood that concept, I go into the room now and being myself, just listen. And now I'm building relationships with people, just from applying some of the information, like, okay, I ain't got to come here always saying anything. But
they say sometimes more is caught than taught. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you just
and I had to learn that.
You can see a lot if you just close your mouth and just observe sometimes.
Exactly, man. And that has helped me, just to piggyback off of the networking thing. The last question I want to ask, which I think is very important, is because I know we mentioned about setting goals, but how do you balance short-term goals with long-term visions for your business?
Well, they say that big doors rest on little hinges. So it's the everyday daily goals. Here's how I look at it. One of my favorite quotes is, "Don't set out to build the wall. Set out to build the brick as perfectly as you can lay it." Right. So every day I'm just focusing on laying a brick, and not just throwing it down, but laying that brick so perfectly that eventually I step back and look and I see a big wall. Right. So I'm not, yes, the goal is the wall, but right now, today, is just that brick. How perfectly can I lay that brick? And that really helps put things in perspective is, can I give this day everything that I have? Can I give it absolute focus and give it, 1,000% so that I can have a immaculate looking wall over time?
Man, that's awesome, man. Yeah, man. Hey, we getting ready to land this private jet. We ain't gonna land on airplane. We landing private jets. We get ready to land in private jet, and again, Mr. Eddie Bales, I know you super busy, so I really appreciate you taking time out to stop and drop these gems. I pray when people watch this that they just start soaking up all the information, and it gives them hope and the confidence to say, you know what, I can go ahead and start this business and be prepared, And so how can people reach out to you if they want to get coaching, learn about your business and what you do, all that good stuff?
Yeah, you can reach out to me at any of the social media platforms. I'm on all of them. It's Eddie Bales, Bails. There's no E in it. There's Bails. Sometimes people put that E in there. But you can catch me there. You can even go to eddiebales.com and you can put your information in and we can reach out to you and start to work with you that way. But any platform, we're on all of them, and you're welcome to connect with all of us on that. And we do have a podcast as well. So if you want to go check out our podcast, you can find us on YouTube or any podcast stations as well. Called Code Freedom, by the way. The podcast is called Code Freedom. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely will put that link, put, some information right here, so people can definitely find you, link up, especially when I share this on my YouTube. I'm going to blast it out to everybody as I can. But again, man, really appreciate you and thank you for stopping by. It's Entrepreneurs Podcast. Man, y'all stay locked in. We going somewhere. All right? Deuce.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.